Right, hey guys, so I have 10 minutes. It usually takes me longer than that to order food, but I'll be as quick as I can. So for those who don't know me, I am Declan, CEO of Aurora Labs. And yeah, thank you for the introduction, Michael. What have we been working on over the past 3 months? Well, it's the new Intents Widget Studio. So Intents has obviously been hugely successful. We've seen that over 13 billion in volume. I think 3 billion in 1 month was the most successful component. However, one of the challenges that a lot of projects had was having the development resources to be able to natively use it and integrate it. And that's really where the Intents Studio came from. So we already know that Intents supports over 20 chains, and it's actually over 100 assets now. But we had projects, even within our own environment, saying we want to be able to use it, but we don't have the tools, the resources, the engineers to be able to natively integrate it via the API. So we built the Widget Studio. It went live a couple of weeks ago, and what it basically allows any project to do is to go to intents.aurora.dev, configure exactly how they want the widget to work, so they can control which networks are available. They're able to control which tokens are able to be used, including their own, by the way. So if projects want their token to be listed on Intents, we have a shortcut route to be able to actually provide and ensure that. So this gives projects that would otherwise struggle with liquidity an opportunity to be able to leverage the huge resources available on Intents for their own project. Once they've done that, they can go one step further. They're able to actually set their own fees. So we were very deliberate when we designed the Intents Studio that we wanted this to be an opportunity for projects to generate their own revenue. What we don't do is mandate a minimum fee either. Why? Well, because we'd be no different from anybody else, right? We'd be no different from CowSwap, we'd be no different from many of the other providers out there. Instead, we give them complete flexibility. So if they want their users to be able to have it for free, no problem, they're able to do that. If, on the other hand, they want to be able to segment users, for example, they might have premium customers or paying tier customers, one of the things that's going to be coming out in the next few weeks is actually going to be the ability to introduce tiered charge rates. So different users will also be able to pay different rates. Now, once they've set up the flow and once they've set the design, they simply copy and export the code directly into their application and off they go. So who is this actually going to benefit? Well, it's interesting, right? Because I think, especially given the current market conditions, which we would all agree aren't great, what we're seeing is a pretty pivotal shift from projects that talk a good game to projects that actually deliver a good game and deliver real, tangible value. And I think that's arguably one of the reasons why Intents has been so successful to date, because it solves a real problem. It provides real access to liquidity and a very simple process for which users are able to swap funds and withdraw funds. But for my team, the key areas that we've been focusing on, or the key verticals, are wallets, trading apps, DeFi protocols, and of course, real-world asset platforms. Now, we only launched Intents a couple of weeks ago, and already we have over 40 projects that we're actively engaged with, 5 of which they're integrating, several of which are already live. One of those I'll be talking about in just a moment. Now, why would a project want to benefit from Intents? Well, it's not just the ability to facilitate swaps. It's actually the ability to facilitate ease of access. One of the biggest challenges that many projects, and most importantly users, have is they will try to use a service or they will try to use an application only to find they don't have the right token. And there is nothing worse in terms of a user experience journey than having to leave the application, go to a centralized exchange, manually do the swap, and then push it back. Actually, one of the projects that we've been working quite closely with, and I'm deviating slightly from the slides here, is a really interesting kind of crypto bank called Coca. I don't know if any of you have heard of them, but they provide a card which you can then spend your crypto assets in real time anywhere you want. But in order to actually upgrade to one of their paid plans and get cash back and things like that, you need to stake Coca. Here's the problem. You can't do it within the application. You have to use MEXC to do it. So we've been working really closely with the Coca team to allow this to all take place natively inside the application, which is going to drastically increase their conversion rate, but more importantly, actually unlock that flexibility for users that want 8% cash back on their spend, but they don't want to have to go through MEXC to do it. So what we're essentially allowing here is two things: the onboarding of assets, but also the ability to simply swap. Now, we're speaking to a wide range of projects. Some of these projects are actually funds. So I don't know if any of you are familiar with Optima, but Optima have just relaunched, and in fact, they're actually on our Alpha Leaks a couple of weeks ago, but they've launched strategies that are generating 40% plus yields in some cases, massively outperforming the market. In fact, NEAR has been the most successful strategy that they have on the platform at the moment. They're going to be leveraging NEAR Intents as well. So users are able to bring in their assets from any network. Again, we support over 22 of them thanks to the hard work of Diffuse Labs. And this is going to allow users to be able to access these strategies more easily than ever. Now, I talked a little bit earlier in relation to the custom fees. Now, this was actually a really important component for us because a lot of the projects want the ability to become self-sufficient. And I think we can all agree that the next few months are going to be challenging, shall we say, when it comes to the market. I don't know about you, but currently my incumbent Barclays bank account is giving me a higher interest rate than my crypto portfolio. And that's only 0.1. So I'm hoping the market's going to improve. But in the meantime, what we're providing is a lifeline for projects. The ability for projects to be able to generate revenue in a way that doesn't harm the users because it will still be cheaper than what they're getting elsewhere, but still giving them that recurring revenue which they can then put towards the development of their project or paying their staff. Now, case study time. So Hacko was actually one of the very first projects to leverage the NEAR Intents Swap widget. Now, Hacko are a stable yield generating platform. And essentially, what they've developed is a pretty interesting product. So 24 hours a day, they are rebalancing liquidity to maximize the yield available for its users. But one of the challenges that they had was users being able to bring tokens from various networks onto the platform straight away. So I'm just going to quickly show you how the platform works and an actual real-life problem that's being solved right now with NEAR Intents. So you can see here that a user wants to be able to deposit assets into the yield-bearing strategy, but they don't actually have the stables required for the strategy in question. So again, within the platform itself, they're simply selecting ETH, and what they're then going to do is swap it. No bridging, doesn't matter what wallet you're using. All of that complexity has been completely abstracted. You connect your wallet, you hit swap, and you're done. Hopefully if the video completes fast enough. There we go. And that's it. So now they can deposit directly into the strategy, and the user is able to operate flawlessly. So they've been able to design it themselves. They've been able to control the journey for the users. They can integrate it further if they want to. So there's a whole bunch of new features that we're actually going to be bringing out over the coming months, which I'll hopefully be sharing more on our various Alpha Leaks. But as you can see here, we're solving a real problem for a real project. And we're going to be doing that for every single project that's working with us. Now, we're working closely with the NEAR Intents team. We're working very closely with the foundation. And we'd love to work closely with all of you guys as well. If there's projects that you've got, that you'd like some support with, come speak to me. If you've got ideas, or if you think there's things that we could do better, come speak to me. Because actually, that direct feedback is going to be critical if we want to really scale this product beyond where it is today. Now, I don't know if there's any questions, but I've got a couple of minutes left over. If anybody does have any, please raise your hands now. If not, what I can do is actually talk you through some of the things that we're working on behind the scenes right now. Yes? Good question. I'll have to confirm that one. Essentially, the one-click API and the widget are separate platforms. However, historically, a lot of the things that they build, or a lot of things that we build, we make sure we mirror so that there's alignment there. But this is something that actually over a dozen of the projects that we're speaking to have specifically asked for. And that's why it's something we're going to be developing. Because again, if you've got users that are paying, or you've got users that have staked a certain amount, or even games, right? Users that have played a certain amount, they might not want to charge for that. But if you've got other users that are actually a net cost to your platform, well, then being able to offset that cost with custom fees is a great way to go. Now, in terms of some of the other features that we're looking at, one of the other things that we want to provide for users is the ability to earn. Now, obviously, we've got projects like Hacko that are doing this full-time, just natively as a project. But imagine if the widget wasn't just something where you could swap and on-ramp your assets, but actually something where you could be generating 15% yield on stablecoins. In the current market, I would say that's quite an impressive return. And it's certainly better than allowing your assets to just sit there. So we're working quite hard at the moment on this kind of earn potential within the widget. And again, all of this will be optional for the projects. We don't mandate anything. We don't even mandate the account abstraction components. So if a project just wants it to be a standalone front end, they can do that. If they want it to be a full-fledged integrated dApp component, they can do that as well. So the earn component is something we are going to be working on over the next quarter. In addition to that, we're also looking at how we can better tackle the end-to-end process. So there's a number of partners that we're looking at, and there's also a number of components that we're going to be developing. And I hope to share more of that over the coming couple of months. So thank you very much.